Hi, welcome back to Reading with Money. I'm Money, and today I'm doing my May and June wrap up. It's gonna be long. I wasn't expecting it to be long because I only read 4 books in May, and I thought, well, in June I'll read 6 at most, maybe, and then I'll just have 10 books to talk about. But no, I have 25. You'll see. June happened. So let's just get right into it. I don't know how much detail I'll be able to give you, but yeah. So May, let's start with May. May is easy. In May, I read 4 books. The first one was Mort by Terry Pratchett. This is part of the Discworld series. I think, in fact, it's the first book where Death appears, and Death is one of my favorite characters. If you don't know, the Discworld series is a fantasy series about this world called the Discworld. There's many different series within this. Hilarious, great characters, super fun. I don't know what else I can tell you. This was great. I gave it 5 stars. Next, I spent a couple of weeks finally reading Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. I was originally supposed to read this in April for the spring equinox semester for Aurelium readathon, and I just didn't. So I ended up reading it in May because it had clouds. It was one of the subjects I needed. Listen, this took me weeks, but I really, really enjoyed it. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars, only because there's one of the stories. This is all this is like six stories that are interconnected in some way. I can't really get much into it without really getting into it, and also spoilers. So yes, I'll just say that there's one of the stories here that kind of dragged on a bit, and that kind of brought my enjoyment of the book down a little bit, especially because it's right in the middle of it. But then it picked up again. So yes, I thought it was really clever, a very good mixture of genres and points of view and writing styles, and I thought it was great. Next in May, well, actually during May, I was actually beta reading a novel for Jackie from Jackie Reads and Writes. I'll leave her channel down below. She's writing a murder historical mystery novel. She's vlogging her experience of writing this novel and editing and all of those things, and it's been super interesting. And she was requesting beta readers, and I got to read her novel, and it was great. It was a great experience, and I can't really tell you much about it, but I did read that book. I am counting it. I actually read it a couple of times because, to give more comments, I read each section at least twice. So but yeah, very enjoyable experience all in all, and the book itself was great. I love historical mysteries, so yeah, really excited about that. And then what was the last thing I read? Oh, the last thing I read in May was A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I loved it. I love T. Kingfisher now, definitely favorite author. This one is about this woman. She's an entomologist, but an archaeologist as well. She studies bugs in digs, in archaeological digs, let's say. And she's between jobs, or something happened with her job, and she goes back home with her mom, and she sees that her mom is different, and there's some things going on in her house that are strange, and especially because of her mother's behavior. And yeah, I can't really go much more into it, but yes, it's a short horror novel. Very, very creepy stuff happens, and I loved it. I adore the writing style. It was funny, the references were great. I really adored the main character. I can't remember her name now because it's been a while, but it was great. I really enjoyed it, and I loved the mother-daughter relationship as well. So yes, lovely, 5 stars, excellent. And now we get into June. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in June because I have 2 vlogs where I go into my thoughts a little bit more. But just in case, in June I was participating in the Ancient Wonders readathon created by Lizzie from Lizzie's Literary Life. I'll leave her channel down below, of course. And I thought I was just gonna read a couple of books for it, and then I ended up reading 20. So the first thing I read was The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I read it in Spanish, so Un niño con el pijama de rayas. This is a Spanish, like from Spain translation, which is something that I hadn't read in a while. So it was definitely interesting, let's say. The book itself, 3 stars. I picked it up because it was short and they would give me points, and that was basically it. It was sitting on my shelves. And yeah, it was good that I could get it off my TBR. But yes, it wasn't anything that great. If you don't know, it's about this boy living in Nazi Germany, and he meets a Jewish boy through the fence who is in Auschwitz. There's something weird about this book, about the way it's presented and the way that the German boy doesn't know who Hitler is, for example. I did tear up, so who knows. Next, I read, finally finished reading Good Morning, Good Night by Lin-Manuel Miranda, illustrated by Johnny Sun. This is poems, tweets. They were original tweets by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they're all inspirational, encouraging thoughts and things, and I cried reading this. I tabbed many of these to remember and to read every once in a while, because yeah, sometimes it's just what you need to read, and this was lovely. 5 stars. Next, I read 6 Graves to Munich, in Spanish, Seis Tumbas a Munich. This is also translated and also Spanish translation. Again, very interesting for me, you know, as a bilingual person, but also like from Uruguay, and like reading Spanish from Spain translations is very different from the way that we speak, so I don't know. This is by Mario Puzo, who wrote The Godfather. I haven't read The Godfather. This was like a noir thriller kind of story in which we follow this guy who was tortured during the end of World War II, and then he starts finding out like the men involved in his suffering, and he starts chasing them down, trying to kill them, hence the Graves. It was fun. I read it in a sitting. It's quite short also. Obviously, it's a product of its time. There's a few, you know, female descriptions and things that, I don't know. But it was fun. It was a fun revenge story, I guess. And yeah, 3 stars. Okay, now I need to check my my journal, because I forget the order in which I read things. I think the next thing I read was Hamlet, Prince of Robots. Yes, that's by Danusha Wen or something. I'll put the picture up here. Cannot be sure how the author's name is pronounced. This is a modern Hamlet retelling. It's quite short, it's like a novella, in which Hamlet is a robot and many other characters are robots as well. I thought it was really well done. It's like almost like a scene by scene retelling, but Hamlet is gay. He's a robot and he's gay, and in a relationship with Horatio, of course, because of course. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that it did a lot of things really well, like the themes of Hamlet the original, like taken into a modern setting. I thought they were really well done, so yes, 4 stars. Then I read Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This is one of the few Neil Gaiman books I hadn't read yet, and that was very surprising because Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite authors. I don't know why I hadn't picked this up. This was amazing. I loved it. 5 stars. This is about this boy who lives in this village, and there's a wall crossing into fairyland, basically, and he has an adventure there, trying to get a star that fell on that side back to to the girl that he loves, to kind of win her heart, and his adventures there. And it's a magical, dark fairy tale in the style of Neil Gaiman, and I loved it. I don't like this cover though, but yes, I still have to watch the movie. I should do that probably at some point. What's next? Then I read To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. Loved this book. 5 stars. It was so good. This is space exploration with no high stakes. We just follow this crew who is like going to different planets, just recording what they find, especially if they find alien life, and just studying them. And it's just vibes, not a lot of plot, like just a little bit of angst there. I loved it. I love space. I love everything to do with space, and this was just yeah, my type of thing. Can't wait to read more Becky Chambers, but yes, loved it. And I read The Ladies of Grace Ado by Susanna Clarke. This is a short story collection set in the same world as Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which I read a couple of years ago and loved. I had been wanting to read this for a while, and yeah, then I discovered that Susanna Clarke had written a story in that book that is set in like the same world as Stardust, and I was like, yes, I need to read this right now. Loved it. Magical. 5 stars. All the stories were great. Yes, it was back. It was great being back in that world, so definitely recommend that. Then I read this. Then I read Verity. It's been a while. It's been a few weeks, and I still don't know what to think of this. The concept of this is very cool. We have this writer who is asked to finish another writer's series of books because the original writer has been incapacitated by some accident. And so she goes to her house, she meets the husband, the kid, and yeah, weird things happen, basically. She finds this manuscript, which seems to be like an autobiography of the original writer, Verity, and things go from there. Again, cool concept, just very bad execution. I can't say that this is particularly well written. There's some plot holes. It is thrilling. I did read it in like one sitting. But yes, just the ending dragged on too. It was just weird. I still don't know what to rate it. Probably 3 stars, just because it was fun, I guess. But not a masterpiece. Sorry, Colleen Hoover. Moving on. Next, I read Folk by Zoe Gilbert. This is another strange book by Zoe Gilbert. Last year I read Mischief Acts by her and I loved it. This was different, but also really good. It's like a short story collection. It's set in like the same town. We kind of follow different characters in that town as they grow. Like we follow like a generation of them and their children, and it's just very dark fairy tale kind of thing. Very dark, not fairy tale. It's like very dark folk stories kind of thing. Lots of magical realism elements. I thought some of these stories were really touching, and some of these were just great fun, and it was a fantastic read. I gave it 5 stars. I am really enjoying reading short stories, apparently, so that was great. Next I read 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton. This is a thriller set in England, and it's about a school shooting. It was very hard hitting. As a teacher, it was very difficult to read at points. And yeah, it's really well done, I thought. I think I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really well done. It explores some current themes and current issues that I thought were very, very important. I cried, so you can imagine what that's like. I don't know what to tell you. It was rough, but all in all, pretty good book. I can't really say that I enjoyed it, can I? But it was good. Next I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by, I can never remember how to say the author's name, Toshikazu Kawaguchi? Is that correct? I'll put the picture up here. This is, again, another short story collection following this cafe where you can time travel. You can go back to the past, but you need to get back before the coffee gets cold. There's like a bunch of rules. And we follow some interconnected characters and their lives and their problems and what they're trying to fix by going to the past. And it was great. I also teared up, I think, during this. I thought that the characters in particular, like you could really feel for them. You could really relate to them, and I thought that was the strongest point. There's some humor in it as well. Next, I read an arc. It's called Orbital by Samantha Harvey? Yes, Samantha Harvey. This is a short novella. It follows the crew of an international space station as they orbit Earth for one day. So we follow like the 16 orbits that they do. Again, there's no plot, it's just vibes. It's kind of like a love letter to Earth and humanity and our space and our place in space, that kind of thing. So yeah, we kind of follow the different characters and their connections back on Earth, how they relate to each other. They are tracking like this tsunami that is about to hit the Philippines or something. So we kind of have those elements like anchoring them back to Earth. But it's like an exploration of that. It's just basically vibes, and I was there for it. I gave it 4 or 5 stars. Can't remember now. Next, I read A Pale View of Hills by Kazuo Ishiguro. If you're new here, Kazuo Ishiguro is one of my favorite authors of all time. And this is one of the few I hadn't read from him, and this is actually his debut novel. Like, I don't know. It's quite short. I read it in one sitting again. We follow this woman who is living in England, but she's originally Japanese. She's reminiscing about her life in Nagasaki before she went to the UK. Yes, it's an exploration on memory and maybe grief and loss and the choices that we have to make in life. I can't really say much more about it, but yes, Kazuo Ishiguro's writing is amazing. I adore the way that he portrays his characters. I adore the way that whenever things are set in Japan in his books, it seems like it's like the dialogues are being translated from Japanese, when like he's writing directly in English. It's just great. I love it. Fantastic. 5 stars. Next, I read The Collectors by Philip Pullman. Sorry about the glare there. It's a short story set in the world of His Dark Materials. Can't really say much more about it. It's very short, so yeah. It's illustrated, and yeah, I gave it 5 stars because it's a great short story and I loved being back in that world. I still have to finish the last season of His Dark Materials, actually. It kind of made me want to reread the whole series. I haven't read it in like 10 years, so yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Next, I read another arc. It's called The Lighthouse Keeper by Liv Ravencourt, I think. I don't know what my hair is doing now, but you'll just have to ignore that. I have more details about this book in my vlog, but it was a cool premise again, but not very well executed. We have this magical world, we have this mystery, we have a gay romance, but yeah, there's a few things that were not very well executed in my opinion. Like the magical system itself was not very well explained, and the relationships are not very well developed also. Like there was a few problems with this. I really like the concept, but yeah, I thought it needed a little bit more editing, I think is what I said in the original vlog. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. It was fun. It was intriguing, but yeah. Next, I read another arc. I read a lot of arcs in June. It was great. I read The Circumference of the World. Circumference of the World. That was a difficult word to say. By Lavi Tidar. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce the author's name again. This is the most difficult book to explain, I think. It's a short book. I think it's like around 250 pages, and it does so much. It's a story within a story and science fiction, and we have so many different parts to this. But basically all you need to know is like it's a love letter to old pulp science fiction stories. Yeah, that's all really I can say. Basically we have this author who wrote this book, but now nobody can find this book. It's like supposed to be like a mystery, and he has created this religion around this book. And that's it. It was great. I gave it 5 stars. It was incredible. I devoured it. It was amazing. Next I read 4 Murderbot Diaries books, basically. I read the first one, All Systems Red, and then read the next 3, and the short story that goes between 4 and 5. These are by Martha Wells. I'll put one of the pictures up here. I binged these and I loved every single one of them. It's about this robot, this security robot, who has hacked its own command module and doesn't follow orders anymore. And instead of going on like a killing rampage, it just wants to watch and consume media. And yeah, it was funny, a little bit of action, a little bit of science fiction kind of thing, but not that much. They're all, these first four are all novellas. And they were really enjoyable, and yeah, I gave them all 5 stars. I don't know, it was just fun. I'm looking forward to reading the next full-length book in this, which is number 5. And now we get to the last thing I read in June, which actually took me all month, because I did start it at the beginning of June and then read little bits and pieces during the readathon. But yeah, it's like more than 700 pages, and I was focusing on reading short books for the readathon, so yeah, it didn't happen until the readathon was over. But then I did finish it, and let me tell you, The Terror by Dan Simmons is a book. I just I don't know how to go over this. Basically, it's the Franklin Lost Expedition to the Arctic with a speculative element in it. Yeah, like I said in the freakout tag, the speculative element took me by surprise, because I don't know if I didn't pay attention when my best friend told me about this, and I definitely didn't read the synopsis. So I was like, what is this? This book is so long. I think I gave it 4 stars because it is very long, and at some points it felt a bit, why are you telling me this? But at the same time I get it, but at the same time I'm like, no, this is too long, it's too much ice. There's so many descriptions of the ice and the cold. I still don't understand how anyone could have survived any amount of time there, especially like living on a wooden ship. I will never understand why people did that multiple times, like it was voluntary. Like, no. So if you don't know, the Franklin expedition was trying to find the Arctic Northwest Passage through the Arctic, and they set out in 1845, and then they got stuck in the ice for a couple of years, and then they disappeared. No one heard from them ever again. I've been on a Wikipedia binge lately and watching videos about this now because I am fascinated. Anyway, it's supposed that the crew suffered from lead poisoning, as apart from, running out of food and having to leave the ships and all of those things. There's also evidence of cannibalism on some of the bones that they have found. So yes, this book, apart from all of that, that's what's insane about this book. You have all these historical facts thrown at you, like all very real things, like all very real horrors, but also there's something in the ice stalking them, killing them, showing some sort of intelligence that is not like a polar bear, And what is also interesting is that part is set in Inuit folk tales, mythology, that kind of thing. It was a lot. This book also has everything. It has a reference to Edgar Allan Poe and The Mask of the Red Death, which was, when I started reading that part, I was like, what is happening? It was amazing. It also has like some sort of like murder investigation part too. Like, it was so much. This book was so much. Yeah. And I still haven't seen my friend to talk about this with her, so I'm just bursting at the seams. I also watched the TV adaptation, which stars what's his name? It's not Richard Harris, his son Jared Harris. And, yeah, it was incredible. The show was also incredible. I have no words. Anyway, that's it. I think I've been speaking for like half an hour. I need to calm down after speaking about The Terror now. It's the thing is that it's been consuming me for a while now. I finished that book. When was it? I finished that book a couple of days ago, and I'm still like thinking about it. I'm gonna calm down now, and I'm gonna let you go because you've been here for half an hour if you've made it this far. This has been a lot. I am now like 6 books ahead of schedule for my Goodreads goal, when last time I checked in with you, I was way behind. So thank you, Lizzie, for the Wonderthon. It made me read a lot. I'm now focusing on some longer books because I did read a bunch of short books in June. Anyway, let me know if you have read any of these books. If any of you have read Terror, please let me know because I will need to talk about this more. I am obsessed. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did and subscribe to see what else I get up to in July because I am on holiday now. So exciting. See you in the next one. Bye. Happy reading.